It started with a post on an internet forum in the early 2000s. Someone's uncle, a military veteran, supposedly recognized Fred Rogers at a veterans gathering. The uncle claimed that the beloved children's television host wasn't who America thought he was. According to the post, Fred Rogers had been a Navy SEAL sniper in Vietnam, with a confirmed kill count so high he'd tattooed his arms to commemorate each life taken. The Cardigans, those gentle, colorful sweaters we all remember, were supposedly hiding a dark secret underneath. The rumor spread like wildfire across message boards and early social media. People began sharing variations of the story. Some said he was a Marine Corps scout sniper. Others claimed he served in Korea, not Vietnam. A few versions insisted he'd been involved in classified operations that couldn't be discussed even decades later. But they all agreed on one thing. Those sweaters were covering something sinister. A woman named Patricia from Pittsburgh, where Mr. Rogers' neighborhood was filmed, swears her neighbor worked on the show's production crew in 1982. According to Patricia, this neighbor once glimpsed Fred's arms during a hot summer day when he briefly removed his cardigan between takes. The neighbor allegedly saw dark ink covering both forearms, though she couldn't make out specific designs before Fred quickly covered up again. Patricia shared this story in a Facebook group dedicated to local Pittsburgh history, and within hours, it had been shared over 15,000 times. The legend gained even more traction when people started analyzing episodes of the show frame by frame. Believers pointed to moments where Fred's sleeves rode up slightly, claiming they could see shadows or marks on his wrists. Grainy screenshots circulated online, with red circles and arrows pointing to what believers insisted was evidence of tattoos. Skeptics argued these were just shadows or age spots, but the legend's supporters remained convinced. Then there's the matter of Fred Rogers' confirmed military exemption. Public records show he received a deferment from military service. But legend believers claim this was a cover story, part of a classified arrangement. They suggest his children's television career was actually a perfect cover for a former government operative who needed to disappear into civilian life. After all, who would suspect a gentleman singing about neighborhoods and feelings? The cardigan collection itself became central to the mystery. Fred Rogers wore a different cardigan in nearly every episode, and his mother had knitted many of them. The legend asks, why would a grown man need so many sweaters? Why was he never filmed without long sleeves, even during summer episodes? Believers compiled lists of episodes, noting that in over 900 episodes spanning 33 years, Fred never once appeared in short sleeves. A man who identified himself as a former Navy SEAL posted on a military forum in 2008. He claimed that during his training, an instructor mentioned Fred Rogers in passing, calling him one of the deadliest snipers who ever lived. The instructor allegedly said that Rogers had transitioned to children's television as a form of penance, trying to add gentleness to the world to balance the violence he'd committed. The post was deleted within 24 hours, which believers took as evidence of a cover-up. The timing seemed to fit. Fred Rogers graduated from Rollins College in 1951, right when the Korean War was intensifying. He could have served between 1951 and 1953 before starting his television career in 1953. The gaps in his publicly available biography during those years fueled speculation. What was he really doing during that time? Some versions of the legend claim that Fred's gentle demeanor on television was actually a symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder. They suggest that his careful, slow movements and soft voice were coping mechanisms developed after experiencing combat. His messages about feelings and emotional regulation were supposedly him working through his own trauma in public, disguised as children's programming. The legend even extends to his famous sneakers. Every episode, Fred would change from dress shoes into sneakers as part of his routine. Believers claim this habit originated from military training, where quick, quiet movement was essential. The sneakers allowed him to move silently, a habit he couldn't break even years after leaving service. People who worked with Fred Rogers over the decades have consistently denied these stories. Co-workers, friends, and family members have stated repeatedly that Fred never served in the military. His biographer spent years researching his life and found no evidence of military service. Draft records confirm his ministerial deferment. But online, the legend persists. The truth, according to documented records, is far simpler, but perhaps just as interesting. Fred Rogers was indeed exempt from military service, but because he was pursuing ministry. He was an ordained Presbyterian minister whose entire career focused on child development and emotional education. The Cardigans were simply comfortable, practical, and became part of his television persona. His mother knitted many of them, and he continued wearing them as a tribute to her. As for the tattoos, Fred Rogers had none. Multiple people who knew him personally, including his wife and children, have confirmed this. Photographs of Fred at pools and beaches show his bare arms with no tattoos. Medical records from his later years make no mention of tattoos. The shadowy marks in those grainy screenshots were exactly what skeptics claimed, lighting artifacts and the natural signs of aging skin. But here's where the legend takes an unsettling turn. Despite all the evidence debunking the military sniper story, new variations continue to emerge. Just last year, a TikTok video claiming Fred Rogers was part of a classified psychological operations unit went viral, accumulating millions of views before being removed. The video featured doctored military documents and manipulated photographs that looked convincing at first glance. A high school teacher in Ohio reported that in 2023, several students insisted on including the military sniper claim in their presentations about television history. When she corrected them with factual information, they argued that the truth was being hidden by the government. They'd seen the evidence online, they said. They'd read the testimonies. The legend has evolved beyond its original form. It's no longer just about one man's supposed secret past. It's become a case study in how myths persist, despite evidence, how people sometimes prefer mysterious explanations over simple truths. The story of Fred Rogers, the secret sniper, is more appealing to some than the story of Fred Rogers, the patient minister who dedicated his life to helping children process their emotions. Every few months, the legend resurfaces with new details. Someone's grandmother supposedly knew his family. A deleted government file allegedly confirms his service. A deathbed confession from an unnamed veteran supposedly reveals the truth. The Cardigans keep their symbolic power in the legend, those soft, colorful sweaters hiding impossible secrets. And perhaps that's the real mystery. Not whether Fred Rogers was a military sniper, but why so many people want to believe that a gentle children's television host must have had a violent past. What does it say about us that we find it easier to believe in hidden darkness than in simple, consistent kindness? Late at night, when people search for Fred Rogers online, the legend still appears among the results. New believers discover it daily. They share it with friends, adding their own details, their own supposed evidence. The legend grows and changes, adapting to remain relevant. Somewhere right now, someone is posting about those cardigans again, convinced they know what Fred Rogers was really hiding. And somewhere else, someone is seeing that post for the first time, beginning to wonder if the man who taught them about feelings and kindness was actually someone else entirely. The sweaters remain hanging in museums now, still keeping their secrets. Or perhaps keeping no secrets at all.